All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power, and we sure do have a lot to talk about in the week following the 2019 Mr. Olympia. But in today's video, what I want to talk about is who I believe was the most overlooked bodybuilder in the 2019 Mr. Olympia lineup, and that is Patrick Moore. Now, Patrick Moore is a brand new IFBB pro. I believe the Olympia was only his second pro show ever. He turned pro, won the Cali Pro, and then qualified for the Olympia and immediately went to compete at the Olympia. So first Olympia ever and a brand new rookie IFBB pro. And he did take top 10 at this year's Mr. Olympia. He did take 10th place here, but I do think he was extremely overlooked. And that could be because he's new. Not a lot of people know who he is. Maybe he didn't stand out that much on stage. There is also the fact that he doesn't have as much size as he probably should have to compete with some of the guys that are on the stage this year. But I want to talk about his physique because his physique is something very, very different from what we typically see on an IFBB pro stage, let alone amongst the top 10 in the Mr. Olympia. And one of the reasons why I feel he was overlooked is because I think he had some of the best lines on stage, some of the best structure on stage. He almost looked like a classic physique competitor, and I don't mean that as a negative. He's certainly much bigger than a classic physique competitor, but the V-taper that he had, he actually hit a vacuum pose during the mandatory front double bicep. He's got an insanely small waist, but he's also got really big legs and really wide lats, giving him this crazy X-frame to his physique, which is really what every bodybuilder wants to have. So he's really, really complete. I think the only thing that he's really missing, again, is that size. When you see him alone on his own, he looks extraordinary. He looks fantastic. But when you put him next to some of these bigger guys, you can see, he's definitely not as big as some of the other IFBB pros from a muscle mass standpoint. I think primarily from the back shots. But he is still, like I said, he's much bigger than a classic physique guy. I don't mean the classic physique comment to be an insult or a negative. I just think he has a very classic physique for a men's open guy and probably could even compete in classic physique if he were much, much smaller. I know he's probably well over whatever the weight limit would be for his height. But I think this guy, Patrick Moore, again, I'm going to say his name probably a lot of times here in the future because I think he's going to be one of the next big things in bodybuilding. I think he's got a tremendous amount of potential, great genetics, great structure, as long as he keeps that waist size down. And that's one of the things that I'm worried about because he does need to put on size to be competitive with some of these guys. That's just the fact of the matter. And I hope he doesn't play the size game too much to where he loses those great lines, loses that small waist, loses the ability to hit a vacuum pose, even though it's not a mandatory pose. I think it looks phenomenal on a physique like Patrick Moore's physique, and it makes him really, really stand out on the Olympia stage and on a men's open pro stage. I think that was a fantastic move to pull a vacuum pose when he came out for his individual routine. And I'm not saying Patrick's placing was horrible at this year's Mr. Olympia. He beat some really, really good guys in this lineup. He did, in fact, actually beat Luke Sando, who took 11th. He beat John De La Rosa, who took 12th. He beat Juan Morel, who took 14th. He beat Max Charles, who took 13th. And these are seasoned IFBB pros that have been around for a long time. And again, I believe this is only Patrick's second ever professional bodybuilding show, first ever Mr. Olympia. He did beat some really big names, but I do think he could have placed even higher within that top 10. And I'm actually surprised we're not hearing more people talk about him because I think he was really, in my opinion, one of the standouts of this show. Now, obviously, this wasn't the deepest Mr. Olympia lineup we've had, probably, one of the weaker lineups that we've had in recent years, to be honest with you guys. So it's not like he was, in the 2012 Olympia lineup, which was stacked. But I do think even though he's a smaller name, he was really one of the standout guys for me. When I saw him come out on stage, I was like, wow, this guy's extremely impressive. Like I said, the lines and the small waist, probably the smallest waist on that stage, and probably, I would even say, one of the best V-tapers in men's open bodybuilding today. Just phenomenal. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And let me know what you guys think, man. As always, please subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed already. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.